how to use the EasySprout. First off, as I said in the other section, it looks strange because it's these two tumblers that fit together. The outer one is where the water collects. Of course, it's solid. No water will leak through it. But the inner one, when you look at it, it's very much like a tall basket that fits down inside. And it has grooves or slots in the bottom, so water will pour through it. This inner one is slightly smaller. It catches on a rim that's inside of the outer tumbler. But there's a little gap there right around both the tops, so it's not sealed off. This is important for air circulation. And then the inner basket is just smaller all the way around so that air can circulate around. And that's an important part of helping it sprout and keeping down mold and spoilage and those things. So the way that you'll use it is that you'll take and drop the inner basket inside of the outer tumbler. Put your seeds in there. Up to like a half a cup will be fine. You could put a whole cup in there. I usually don't. I keep the volume down on them, but you could put a whole cup of seeds in it if you want. And I'll have, you can have 2 or 3 of these. If you have 3 of them, you can have continuous sprouts all the time. One that's soaking, one that's sprouting, and one you're eating, and you can just keep rotating through them. So continuous sprouting, it works very, very nicely with 3 of them, and I'd recommend that you have at least 3. Now then, seeds are in there. I'll take and just give them a quick rinse with just a little bit of warm water, just to rinse any dust off of them. That's not absolutely required. And if water is precious, in an emergency, I wouldn't rinse them, but now you just soak them. Just fill the tumbler up with water, let it soak for the 4, 6, 8 hours, usually overnight is what I'll do. And then you can just pick that inner basket up, and of course the water will just drain off. Now that rinse water, you don't waste it. You use it to water plants or something like that. You're not going to drink it because it may have a bunch of junk in it that you just don't want to consume. If you had to, you could cook with it, but you want to be sure that it would be a boiled cooking to not waste the water just in case there's molds or things in there that could be a problem. And of course, your sprouting seeds always have to be untreated seeds. We're not using garden seeds or something like that that may be treated with chemicals. You want to have just a simple whole grain or whole legume that doesn't have any treatment to it. Treated seeds can be very dangerous to eat, so be careful about that one. And that's one of the reasons to err on the side of conservative, of throwing that soak and rinse water away if you possibly can. Pour it on your garden, put it on a houseplant or something like that. Now then, we'll take and rinse the seeds down once. There's a few seeds you'll have to rinse more than just once, but the kinds of seeds I use, wheat, kamut, spelt, rye, whole peas, and lentils, garbanzo beans, any of those, these are the ones I sprout regularly. And sunflower seeds, love sunflower seeds. Whole sunflower seeds, raw, they can't be, cooked. Any of those, you're just going to rinse it once. Give them a nice little rinse, drop that basket back in there, and then put the lid on. I will use the domed lid. This comes with 3 different lids. It has a flat lid that has no holes. That's for storage. You can put that on when you're doing the soaking water. Then you have a flat lid that has a few holes in it, and then you have a domed lid. I like to use the dome lid. That's the best one of all. Put the little domed lid on, which you'll notice fits only on the inner basket, not over top of the outer basket. That's important. And put the dome lid on it, set it in a warm place, not in a hot place, not in the sun, just in a warm place. It could be in a cabinet. It could be out on the countertop, usually where I do it, and just let it set. And essentially, you're done, unless you're using one of the seeds that, according to the instructions, you'll need to rinse, and there's a few that you do. Alfalfa and tiny seeds, you'll have to rinse them often. Buckwheat, you have to rinse it. Some seeds have a gelatinous cover on them, and they really make slime. I don't sprout those, but you have to rinse them constantly, and that would be problematic during an emergency. But the types of seeds I just described, you're going to rinse them once. Now, about at the end of the day, about every 24 hours, 12 to 24 hours, I'm going to take, if I'm in a very dry area, and I may take and shake that sprouter a little bit, because the seeds on top will have a tendency to get a little bit dry. They might get too dry. If you'll shake them down inside, it won't be a problem. If you're in an extremely hot, dry desert area, the top seeds might dry out, in which case I would take a little spray bottle and just take the lid off and just spray them down, just mist them down. Don't need to rinse the whole thing, just mist them down so that they're staying damp. Now, you'll notice that there's water in the bottom. There'll be, after you've drained it off, there'll be a little bit of water that'll collect on the bottom of this. And how this sprouter works, the magic of the EasySprout, is that it forms a chimney. You get air circulation. See, seeds, when they germinate, they generate some heat. They have a metabolism. They give off a little bit of warmth. And inside of that mass of seeds, this warmth is going to do two things. One thing it does is they warm each other down in this mass, so they, in a warm environment, they sprout faster. If you have an open tray, they're out in the open, and evaporative cooling is going to be chilling them down, and then you rinse them down with water, and most of the time you rinse them with cold water. I hate cold showers. I think seeds don't like cold showers either. Stunts their growth. So here you have these sprouts that are down inside of this mass, staying humid, warm, and they're not getting doused with cold water. They sprout faster. So the warmth is one of the reasons they sprout faster. Secondly is this warmth causes, warm air rises, so there's a little bit of air that wants to rise up through them, and it rises out the chimney. That domed lid is kind of a chimney. Well, when it rises out, it pulls in a fresh, cool air down around the gap around the between the inner and outer, and it draws it down inside and up through those holes in the bottom, and it circulates up through. This is why large seeds work better than like amaranth or alfalfa that pack tightly together. You just don't get as good air circulation in them. So you get a little bit of air through them, which they need. They need to breathe just a little bit. They're warm. They stay humid, also help to stay humid because of the little pool of water that's in the bottom. As that air circulates around in there, it picks up some of that humidity that goes up through the sprouts, so they stay damp, warm, fresh air. They sprout wonderfully. And within 24 to 36 hours, your lentils are ready to eat. Lentils sprout very, very quickly. Some grains are a little slower, and you may be up to 2 days, 48 hours, but usually 24 to 36 hours, you have seeds that are ready to eat. You can let them grow longer. You can let them start getting green. Some of them, green is nice. Now, as they get green and get chlorophyll, the nutrient value goes even higher, but they start to taste a little stronger. You'll have to experiment with them and see what you like. Now, then, during this process, you don't need to rinse them again. This is one reason why the EasySprout is so wonderful. They sprout faster, so they're sooner to use, and you're not using rinse water, so you use far less water. In an emergency, water is a very precious commodity, and having to rinse several times a day is going to consume a lot of water. Now, rinse water, of course, you'll save, and you'll use it in stews and things in cooking. You don't use the soak water. You prefer not to use the soak water unless you have no other choice. In this case, the small amount of soak water, I always throw it away. I'm always going to put it on a plant. I'll never use it because I'm not using very much water. There is no rinse water, so my water consumption is significantly reduced. You will have a few roots that will grow through the very bottom, but since it's just a small bottom, and only the seeds right on the bottom will put some roots through, the cleanup is very simple with a little brush and a little bit of water to wash the roots out of it. Unlike a big flat tray that's full of holes and all the roots go through the bottom, it takes massive amounts of water to clean them up. Flat sprouting trays are impractical in an emergency because of the amount of water that they will need. Well, that's the EasySprout and how I use it. Now, when you get one, you'll notice it does have another little screen, a smaller slit screen that goes in the bottom. That's for your little seeds like alfalfa so they don't fall through. But I've had difficulty sprouting the small seeds because they pack together so much, and you'll need to rinse them and stir them and agitate them, otherwise they will in fact mold. So I will use my BioSnacky for the tiny seeds like alfalfa because I don't have the packing problem in there. So the BioSnacky is for alfalfa and amaranth and tiny seeds, and the EasySprout is for everything else. Well, there's a little bit on sprouting. I encourage you to sprout because sprouts are a wonderful food, a powerful food. And in an emergency, when you don't have maybe fresh vegetables in the winter and you don't have vitamin tablets and things like this, fresh whole foods with live enzymes is extremely important for your health. You can always get those by sprouting whole grains and legumes, and it will help you stay healthy and strong, and plus it adds a new taste and variety to your foods. So sprout and sprout often for your health now and in the future.